Hello and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 258. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. It is Sunday, June 28th, 2015. We are 2.5 weeks out from SSK.
We are, and there's 2 days left till the end of the month when all my Harry Potter House Cup stuff is due.
Oh, yeah. That's why you've been spinning like a fiend.
Yeah, the 50% is, this is Humberto, by the way.
Well, that's his tail anyway, yeah.
50% owl. Oh, thank you for clawing me, cat. That was super fun. The 50% owl. This is why we can't have nice things. Ah! The 50% is due on Tuesday, so I'm trying to get to my 50% mark. So, yep, that's part of the reason why I've been spinning like a fiend. So, anyway, what is on your needles? Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I'm at the end of the row, so I'll go.
Okay.
The first I showed you guys last week that I had started, it's Lily Pilly. And it is by her Ravelry designer name is Amba, A-M-B-A-H. And it looks like this. So it's a 3-color sort of scarf stole shawl thing. And I really liked it. As soon as I saw it, I knew that I would need to cast it on. Because apparently I don't have enough things on the needles.
So how many things do you have on the needles, Leslie?
We'll count in a minute.
Okay.
So
Oh, you got far on that.
Yeah, the last week I had just started the lace.
Yes.
I really worked on the lace a lot yesterday and today, so I finished it. That's 100 rows. And then just started the next section, which is striping.
How many lace sections are there?
2.
So there's 2 striping, 2 lace?
Yes, this is 50 stripes. And the
Uh-huh.
next one will be twice that many.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, there will be a small section of lace.
Cool. So
So
you're like maybe halfway through?
I'm close to halfway. Not quite there, but almost.
Okay. Wow, you're making some good progress on that.
Yeah, and that's in hazelnuts and the Splish Splash, nickel, and the red is a specialty colorway, Sangiovese, which was created for a local yarn shop in Texas called the Tinsmith's Wife, and was gifted to me by Renee.
It's an interesting name for a shop.
Yeah. I wonder what the history is of that. I'm sure somebody can, Renee, you can probably tell us.
That would be awesome.
And then because I was WIP-shamed last week,
That's the best term ever. That should be the name of the episode.
yeah, it should. Let me write that down. WIP-shamed.
So my favorite part of your whip shame is the text we got from Jessica later saying you forgot this and this and this.
So for whips,
Yes.
I
Go for it.
have the 2 most recent are Lily Pilly, Joker and the Thief.
Mm-hmm.
I also have the Ricky hat. That's 3. I have a lot of them are right here. I have the sock that I'm knitting out of the sock blank. That's 4. I've got the Loesch sock, the Hunter Hammerson one that I have to redo. That's 5. I have the Trick sweater. That's 6.
Uh-huh.
I have the Jet socks that I have to rip out. That's 7. I have the stripy socks out of hand spun that I forgot last week. That's 8.
Oh, yeah. We haven't seen those since Maryland Sheep and Wool, I don't think.
That's correct. I have the Bridgewater. That's 9. I'm starting to forget.
You have 15 total.
I have Pebble Beach. I have 13.
Okay, you have Pebble Beach. Keep going.
That's 10.
You have your custom knit sweater.
That's 11. That's one that I forgot last week.
You have... I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I have 13 altogether. I'll remember what the other ones are and randomly burst in with them. Although people are probably
I
yelling
feel like
them.
you have another hat. Maybe a colorwork hat?
Yes, that's
Coop
12. Coop Knits. That's a colorwork hat by Coop Knits. That's 12. And I'll I'll go through our website and see what the other one is. But anyway.
Uh-huh. You finish, and then when I go on my
Oh,
tangent...
wait. Maybe this is the other thing that I'm forgetting. Nope, these are the hand-spun socks. I already said those. Yeah, I don't know. So, since I was WIP-shamed, I went and pulled out something that had been hibernating for a while. And it is the Trick Sweater by Asa Tricosa.
This is part of Operation Sweater Test.
Yes, this is part of Operation Sweater. I gotta
We are
move
doing
so I can
the
see
Knit
you again.
Wars and Susan B. Anderson.
It's by Asa Tricosa, and it's a unique construction in that you complete the entire thing on one needle. The back, it starts at the back neck and sort of, it's really confusing at the beginning. So for like the first 30 to 40 rows, you have to read every line and just trust. Lots of trust. But the instructions are good. You really can't just assume that you know what's going to happen, because you don't. But that part was...
After that, you get into... And that's like back neck, right?
Yes. As soon as you start increasing for the shoulders, it kind of... You get into a rhythm.
Okay.
It's just that first, inch and a half or so that you really have to be careful of. So it has a lot of... when I left it last, I had separated for the sleeves, and it was maybe a couple inches under there. And this is my very scientific way of keeping track when there are 3 different at the same time statements going on.
Now, do you use a counter, or is that kind of line by line? And you just...
It's line by line, and I just cross it off as I go.
Okay.
Because there are waist increases that had to happen every 10 rows, and then every 18 rows you increase the number of decorative ribs in the back. And then before the increases, there were decreases. So, anyhow, I still have one. Okay, let me pull this out. So I've mostly finished the body. I've still got 16 rows left of the body, but I put it on waste yarn because I only have this much left to do both sleeves.
What yarn is this out of?
This is Highland Handmaid's, her Butternut DK, which is a Polworth silk blend in a teal colorway. And I had 5 skeins of it. And this is all that I've got left to do both sleeves, which I think will be fine. Usually it takes me a skein to do sleeves, but I wanted to...
Because this is already... The sleeves are kind of
right.
already...
It's just at the
there,
part...
right?
Yeah, it's like a raglan top down, sort of, yeah.
So, are you doing full length sleeves, 3/4 length?
Well, the
elbow?
pattern calls for full length, and they bell out at the end. I will not be doing any sort of bell out because I don't need any help getting my sweater into my food, because I can do that all by myself.
Can you?
Without any help. So, here we go. Let me pull this up. It is already... I think it's already going to be long enough.
I like the back a lot.
The sections where it increases in that decorative rib, I have one more section of those. That's what the 16 rows are.
Uh-huh.
But I think I'll be fine without it if I'm running low on yarn, because it's already pretty low.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see. But I wanted to do the sleeves, finish the sleeves first. So that's where I am. The sleeves are on waste yarn. I just have to go back and start working on those. Hopefully I'll be able to do that this week, since it's all stockinette and it's pretty easy.
Just probably some increases.
Right.
Or actually decreases.
It'll be decreases first, and then the way that it's written, it increases out again at the wrist, but I won't do that. I'll leave it.
So how does it finish at the wrist? Is it like a garter stitch or ribbing?
It's got an edging, just like along the collar. It's it's a variant of like a rib purl 3 together sort of.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it really well or not, but it's just a decorative sort of rib. There's nothing real fancy about it.
Okay.
So, and that is living in my Bling Your String bag. One of the ones from the club, I think. Oh no, this is from SSK last year.
Oh, yeah. I need to shoot her another email.
So anyway, those are my 2 works in progress this week. That's it. That's all I got. I did do some prep work on fiber, but I'll talk about that later. So what about
Awesome.
you?
I have all the things on the needles. I've cast on like 3 things this week,
Do
which
you
is
have 13 things on the needles?
I don't think I have that many. I definitely have quite a bit, and I just got something off the needles too. So I right now am knitting on Belle Island, or not Island, Isle, out of Bamboo Pop. It is a little girl's sweater, and I have one more row, and then I can start because little girls are not very long. I can start the armpit shaping. So this is the whole bottom layer, and I just have like one more row, and then I will be done with it. It is just a total of 5 inches. I need to double check the pattern, but I feel like that's how long it's supposed to be in the stockinette. So it's nice and drapey. The Bamboo Pop yarn is very nice. That is on some Ignite needles, and these are size 5. So they've got these metal tips, but they're wooden. They're like a lacquered wood. So it still goes, it's pretty slick still. But the bamboo yarn is very slick, so I probably would not use it on metals. And it is living in a fat squirrel bag. The other thing that is living in a fat squirrel bag, and these got a little bit of work on the way. Mom and Dad, Wheezy and Mama Linneman, picked me up to go to Costco, because we go to Costco together. Really, I just went to get steps in. But these are my two sisters yarn company in the Outlander colorway. They are being knit on size 1, 2.25 needles, and I got I would think I was at that blue back there, so I got a little bit more blue and some green done in the car ride. So not a terrible ton done on those, but a couple stitches. And these kind of live in my purse, and since I've not been leaving the house a whole lot, they haven't been getting a ton of love. Because when I drive and go places, the only time they get worked on is like in drive-throughs, like the Starbucks drive-through is really the only drive-through I go through. And that, again, is in a fat squirrel bag. Let me put the other one back in there. Oh, and this is the second one. The first one's already done. And so I just need to snip a stitch and put in Afterthought heels on that.
Yes,
So other things that I have on the needles, I started this weekend a striped study, which I had pulled the yarn for before, and Leslie and I had a discussion of whether to do like black or blue or what color for the main color. So I chose blue. It's Alicia Goes Around that I bought at Vicksburg this year. And then this green is actually Gradient that is going to change.
Oh, you made a magic ball. Good idea.
Actually, I totally stole that idea from Jasmine of the Knitmores. She was talking about mini skeins.
Oh, yeah, because she just
did a ton of mini skeins.
Yeah.
And this comes in mini skein form. It is fiber optic yarns. They're paint box gradients, and it's like 13 or 14 little mini skeins.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wound them on my Swift, and I put in a little knot in between, so I know, because I'm not, so the first 3 stripes are one of the little skeins, and then I just started, so there's a subtle difference between those 3.
Yeah, Kimber's gradients are very subtle between the skeins.
They are, and this one has variegated too, so between the like yellow and green, there's a variegated green-yellow. He doesn't eat yarn, but he eats needles. I don't understand. Like, the metal tips will go after it. If I hold it like this. No, he's ignoring me now. So what this is, Striped Study, it's a Vera
Valimaki.
Thank you pattern. And so one side is short road. So this side, see how the stripes are different width than that side? So it's going to be a fun...
So it ends up being slightly asymmetrical.
Yes, very asymmetrical. So that'll be fun. And I will slowly work my way through that super neon gradient, which is going to be awesome. And that is hanging out in my Bags by Awesome Granny. And I was actually struggling to wind the yarn a little bit, and it's not Kimber's fault. I had my Swift and ball winder about a foot apart. Oh. And so once I separated them by like 6 feet, it went swimmingly, which I'm going to leave them that way from now on. But I have them on 2 like little rolling tables. And so I just needed to roll those tables apart.
See, the way that I've got mine set up, it used to be on two ends of this IKEA wooden sawhorse thing,
Uh-huh.
but that put them really close together. And my new Swift won't fit on it anyway. So my Swift now is attached to my sewing table upstairs, and then I have my winder attached to a stool, like a bar stool.
Uh-huh.
So I just move it as far away as I need, and I sit on my bed and I wind yarn with it attached. But that way I can move it as I need to.
So
But
if you're struggling to wind yarn onto a ball winder, if you're unhappy with the results that you're getting, one thing that you might want to do is move them farther apart. Another thing is go slow.
yes,
Because when
and
you go too fast, it makes the cake get a little bit wonky. But if you go nice and slow and steady, it pulls on more evenly.
I would also play with tension because now I use the Shocked Swift and the Nancy's Knickknacks winder, but previously I would have issues where when I was winding the yarn, I would get bits where it would dip below the cake. It would go
Uh-huh.
below, and the problem that was happening then was that the tension was changing at that
Yes,
point. It
that's
was
what
either
happens with mine. So I
yeah,
just tension it with my finger. When it was
yes,
too close, it was happening a lot more often. But now
yes.
that it's far apart, it tensions it more evenly, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and the speed, like you mentioned, the speed of how fast you're going is going to affect it as well. But
It's very tempting to go super fast, but
to get
if you
done
go
quicker,
consistent
but
and
really it's going to take
slow,
you a lot longer when you have to untangle that mess.
for sure. Other things I have on the needles, I also have a design that I'm designing for Casey of Tangerine Design. She's doing a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kit.
Hmm.
And so this is the yarn. Oh my gosh, stop eating my needles, cat. Um, it is Sadie of
Knitter's Nightmare.
Knitter's Nightmare. Thank you. Her yarn, and the pattern's going to be by me, and it's a toe up sock. It's knit on size 0 needles, and it's going to have an afterthought heel. And I am going to put a call out for testers later this week. So if you are interested in testing, there will be a thread on the Lala's Knits group on Ravelry, and you can sign up there. I'm only going to have like probably 6 or 7 people test, but it'll probably go up Monday or Tuesday. And that is hanging out in a silver pumpkin bag.
Oh, haven't seen that in a while.
I know. I was going through picking out awesome bags. And then, but wait, there's more. In a Tangerine Design steampunk bag, because I do love my steampunk, there is a pair of Rose City rollers. And the woman who designed this is actually a member of our group.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So they are little ankle socks that have just stockinette, so they roll down.
Hmm.
And I am on the heel flap. The yarn I am using is Vesper, which is Knitterly Things in the Rainbow Love colorway. It is going swimmingly. So the reason why I'm knitting these is a little bit about wheel etiquette. Anytime you go to a guild or someplace else, and you want to use someone else's wheel, you should never, ever, 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 ever leave your shoes on when trying someone else's spinning wheel out, without asking them first, because that gets a lot of like dirt and grime on the treadles if you leave your shoes on. And I am someone who a lot of people are kind of ticky about bare feet. I'm looking at Leslie.
I don't like seeing bare feet. You know what? Everybody's got their weirdness, so back off.
So there's some people who do not like bare feet touching things. So I'm knitting little footy socks to put on to just carry in my apron pocket. I'm doing a breakout on different wheels and choosing the correct wheel for you. And I am going to stick these in my pocketses and carry them with me. So I have them for that, and also the tasting room. Oh, sorry, he just knocked my computer and he's gone. Awesome. So plus I wanted a pair. I wear Toms a lot when I go through airports. Toms are like slip-on canvas shoes, and I wanted something to slip on my feet so I don't have to walk barefoot on dirty airport floors. So they can go in my purse for that. So that is the purpose of those. So again, size 0 needles. I'm pretty much going down to size 0, I think, consistently from this point on. Um, Things that I've done different than the pattern, or just my own little brand of madness in general. When I do top down socks, I cast on all the stitches on one needle. I scooch half those stitches to a second needle, kind of like you would do if you had two circulars. And then I knit across half the stitches using a third needle, and the other half using the fourth needle, and so on. So it divides them into, it keeps it from twisting. It just makes it, instead of trying to like cast on all the stitches and then spread them out on the 4 needles and then join them in the round, if you just do it on the 2 and then divide out from there, it keeps it from twisting a little bit better with DPNs. And also I am slipping my heel stitches on the wrong side row. So I purl 1, slip 1, purl 1, slip 1, rather than the knit 1, slip 1, because I don't like purling, but I don't mind knitting. So that is all the differences that I have done so far. And both those ideas I got from Lucy Neatby. We took a class from Lucy Neatby years and years ago, and she is a wonderful instructor. If you can ever take a class with her, I highly recommend it. But especially her sock classes, a delight and joy. So that's about it for me. Oh, and the needles I'm using are needles that we bought for the tasting room. They are the Knitter's Pride Nova Platina DPNs in size 0. So those will be in the tasting room as well at SSK if I ever get my sock done. I guess that's incentive to knit faster on the sock.
Yeah, in my head, there's like all this mythical time between now and SSK, and in reality, there is not.
Like, finish 18 shawls and a sweater and socks and all the things for SSK. And every year we do this.
Yep.
But that is it for me for what I'm knitting on. I have one little hexapuff that I finished that you all saw last week, and that is it. So now I have 2 little hexapuffs working on 50. So
it's a good goal to finish one a week.
Yeah, that's not a terrible goal. I should work on that goal. I should set that as a goal. I might take them just to work on, well, then you have to take the filling. I was going to say they might just be good to work on at SSK because they're really not much work.
Well, you can just put them off on waste yarn and Kitchener them later if you finish them.
That's silliness. I'll just take stockinette socks probably. Actually, what I'll probably be taking is my Camp Loopy project because the new Camp Loopy starts July the 1st. And I need to test that on and get that started. So... And I'll be knitting on Rose City rollers if I don't get those done beforehand. Everyone can knit on my Rose City rollers. Actually, I was thinking for the tasting room, that would be a great pattern to just cast on because you're doing like 2 inches of just plain stockinette at the top. And then I'd have all these socks.
You'd end up with a whole lot of 2 inches of stockinette.
And I'm okay with that. But... Anyway, spinning. Do you want to talk about your spinning since I've been talking for a while?
I will, sure. I didn't do any actual spinning this week. I'm still trying to plug away at all of the fleece that we've bought over the past year and a half. It's all been washed. That's one of the first things that I do is I wash it, even if it's going to sit for months. I want to get it washed first. And
that's good because otherwise the lanolin can sit and kind of get hard.
And it'll get harder to clean or sometimes impossible if it's a light fleece. But the steps after washing take time.
I think washing in general takes time.
For me, washing doesn't take as long because I don't treat it with kid gloves like a lot of people do, and you're supposed to. I just don't.
I think you're middle of the road because some people do washing machine method and you don't do that.
Yeah, and I don't wash the whole fleece at a time. I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to take up any more time talking about it. But so I've been working for well over a month on trying to finish the Cordell Merino Cross that we got this year at
Yeah,
Maryland,
we did.
which is the finest fleece I've ever worked on. And by that I mean the lowest micron count. And it's very floofy. It's got a lot of elasticity and memory. And the fibers are packed really densely together, so it's been kind of a pain, but I did finally finish
Did
carding.
we split a Cormo? I'm sorry. Was the Cormo only mine?
At Maryland?
Yeah.
We
Did
split
not
all three. We have a
No.
Coopworth.
No, not this year. The year before. Did we not get a Cormo? Where did I get a Cormo from?
I've got some Cormo from Fox Hill Farm, but I didn't get a Cormo fleece.
Where did I get that Cormo fleece from? I have no idea.
I don't
That's
know.
awesome. I have a Cormo fleece that I've been spinning for over a year. Huh. Where did that come from?
I
if we
wasn't part
didn't
of that
split
one.
it?
Um,
I get very few fleeces that we don't split, so I don't know. Actually, that's a total freaking lie. No, where that came from.
so this is finished. I haven't weighed it yet. I need to just give it to Michael to figure out how to weigh because I really don't feel like dealing with it. Because there's lots of little bats.
So how I weigh stuff is, I put it in. I have a post office scale in my house, and it'll weigh up to 100 pounds.
Yeah,
And so I put like a bucket on it,
and set
and
it to
then
zero.
I zero it and go from there.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a bucket big enough for all of this, so I'd have to do it in sections.
You don't have like a huge Rubbermaid container or a box?
No, not big enough to hold all those because they're so fluffy. They take up so much space. Michael doesn't mind doing that stuff either, so I just have to give it to him and tell him what to do. That sounded bossy. That's not what I meant. He doesn't mind doing very detail-oriented type of stuff like that. So anyway, I finished that, and then yesterday I started on the Coopworth fleece
Yeah, how's that going?
that we got so much faster. Holy crap, so much faster. Part of it is because this one, the Merino Cross one, is because it was a fine fleece, I couldn't run it through the picker because it would just create nothing but pills. It would destroy the fleece,
Yeah,
basically.
it creates nips, basically.
So I was fluffing everything out as I went. That was part of the reason it was taking so long, is I would grab a lock and I would have to fluff it out and get it ready for the carder. Now I could have combed it or...
No, you couldn't have combed it.
well, I could have combed it. Yeah, sure I could have.
Well,
Well, but I would still
it's-
fluff it out, though.
Yeah, you could have.
I could have flicked it as
flicked
well,
it.
but I didn't do any of those things. So I just fluffed it as I went and ran it through the carder, and I run them all through 3 times so that they're nice and uniform. But with the Coopworth, it's a much longer fiber, and it did go through the picker, and it behaved so much better. It was meant for my carder much more so than the fine fleece, because I
Yeah.
have a medium drum,
Yeah.
and this is a
Yeah,
medium fleece.
So when you mean by medium drum, not the size of the drum, but the teeth per inch on the drum.
How densely packed those teeth are, right? And the fine fleece really should have been processed on a fine drum, which is like 140
Or just flicked.
or flicked, which there's no way that's going to happen, not for a whole fleece. But this is
I think
Coopworth.
that's how I'm gonna do it, actually.
Rock on with your bad self. I no way. And this, I actually really like the way that my drum packs it on, because it looks like a big thick hunk, but you can sort of pull it apart at the center.
Oh, look at you! Your teeth on your drum must be pretty long.
I don't know. I think it can hold like almost 3 ounces or something.
Okay.
So, but you can see, if you look, you can see through, and you can see little dots where there's a little tiny pill or something. But I tried to pick out as much as I could as I went, so that it would be pretty easy to spin.
And a lot of those are shortcuts that have kind of gotten.
Yeah, mixed in, and they'll come out as you spin.
Yeah, as you spin, you come across those. That's what I'm doing right now with
And
what
just
I'm
pick 'em
spinning.
out,
I just
yeah.
pick 'em out.
So I've probably made 4 or 5, well, probably more than that, bats. And I can't do it for hours at a time. It's just too mind numbing. So I'll do 2 or 3 and then I'll walk away and come back and do 2 or 3
You
more.
have an electric carder.
I do. Well, with Fancy Kitty, you can add it later, which is what I did.
Uh-huh.
I bought the carder last year and then I added the motor this year. And it works really well. I mean, if I didn't enjoy processing fleece, I probably wouldn't recommend a motor, but I really do enjoy processing it, so.
There you go. Motors are good for people who are doing a lot of work. If you're not doing a lot of work, it's not.
Yeah, it's hard to justify it. And price-wise, the Fancy Kitty, the carder itself, with the brush attachment and everything, was less than $500. I don't remember the exact number. I want to say like $440. And then the motor attachment was another $400. So,
yeah, so you're doubling the cost of your equipment essentially.
And you get a little bit of a discount if you buy them together, but not a lot. So that's it. That's all of my spinning related content.
Okay. Spinning wise, since I saw you guys last, I was finishing up on the spinning of the singles for the 4-ply Romney.
Which turned out so pretty.
Thank you. I'm going to grab it right
now. So
now.
much better than mine that I did.
Really?
I think the difference is that yours is so much thinner and it doesn't look like a novelty yarn, whereas mine was much thicker.
I'll have to try it again with a different fiber. So because this is a Romney, and anytime you add twist, it makes it a little bit harder. So this is not the softest thing that you will ever feel. The original plan was to use it for socks. I'm not certain that I'll use it for socks. Mom came over and said, that would be a great warp on a loom because it's super strong. So it might become a warp on a loom. Just to recap what, see if you can really see it. Maybe. So what a cable ply is on this one, it's a 4-ply. So you spin 4 fibers on separate bobbins, all going the same direction. You can also do it on 2 different bobbins and then create a center pole ball. And that's a way to get less waste, actually. But I hate plying large amounts off of center pole balls. That would have been, for me, it would have been this is 8 ounces. So it would have been 4 ounces on each, and that's a little bit much for me to do center pole ball wise. I am fine with like 20 grams, but over that I'm like, not my favorite method. So I spun on 4 different bobbins because there is not a bobbin shortage at my house. And then you 2-ply 2 of them together, so you add twist going the opposite direction on 2 of them, and that creates 2 2-plies. And then you go back the first direction and ply those 2 plies again into another 2-ply. So you have 4 plies, all going different directions. This is 400 yards from 8 ounces. Because you have to add so much twist, I showed you guys last week how twisty my crazy singles were. It does not make the softest yarn. And Romney is almost a long wool to begin with, so it is not the softest wool to begin with. This is yarn that I dyed at yarn school, or wool that I dyed at yarn school. You can kind of see 2 of the plies were like that yellow, and then 2 plies were darker. It's a little bit difficult to see. So it might become warp on a loom, perhaps. I haven't decided yet.
Do you enjoy spinning it that thin?
I do. That's my default. It's like, this wasn't super thin. I like it a lot.
It's 4-ply and it's still what? A fingering weight?
I don't know that I have a reps per inch tool here, but I mean we can pull it up against a commercial fingering weight.
I feel like it's still pretty darn thin.
So the top is a Miss Babs fingering weight and the bottom is the yarn.
Yeah. So it's 4 plies, and not just 4 plies all going the same direction, nice and compact and round. But it's 2 separate yarns braided around it, well, twirled around each other.
Yeah.
So it actually is a little bit more bulbous than it would be if it was 4 going the same way.
Perhaps. I might try socks out of it, because it's going to be super duper strong.
Yeah.
It's got all that twist, and when you add twist, you add strength. You take away softness, but you add strength. And Romney is not a superwash fiber, ever, but for something like house slippers, it might be nice. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
I would try it. I mean,
Mom says everything should be loomed. So she is not a good, like, she saw the course fun and she's like, that would be an awesome weft. And I do agree with that.
yeah, because it's not strong enough to be a whole lot else.
Yeah, that would, well, it could be knit easily into like a crazy, I have a course fun hat around here somewhere. But, yeah, my default is pretty thin. So speaking of thin, the other thing that I am spinning, and this is all for my house cup owl, is I am spinning some Death from Into the World. This is a Will Taylor Lazy Cape that I got off a D-stash this week.
That you're very proud of.
I am, because I've been looking for one of these for a very long time, and he does not make them anymore. So, and they actually, there's a hook that comes with it, and it pulls, see the little holes there?
Mm-hmm.
You pull them through, it's tension too, which is important when you're looking for a Lazy Kate. And then you pull the singles through the little hole and it comes up the top.
So they're not tangling.
Yeah, super cool. And there's a tension. I need to replace the rubber band on it because it's a little bit worn. But there's a thread that goes around and tensions as well. Which I'm going to stick that on while I'm thinking about it. There we go. So, except it's not on all the way. I'll play with it later. So these are 2 of the 3 plies of Death, which is an Into the World fiber that was dyed for the mega sale, which was a spin along that was hosted by David of Southern Cross.
And all the colors were Discworld based. See, that's like okay. I'm not being negative about your spinning. I'm just like that. Doing that would take my full attention,
Really?
and it would be followed by lots of cursing. Spinning that thin.
So when you spin thin, it's hard to go back to thick, which is why Leslie and I should really work out a barter system.
I can spin thick all day, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, no, I like spinning DK. Like my default for a lot of stuff is DK weight singles. Like I don't mind that at all either. But no, I've been on a thin kick. Now, this is only 2 of the 4 yarns that I'm creating for the house cup. So the first one was a 4 ply. This is gonna be a 3 ply, and this is taking me around 10 hours of bobbin to spin. It takes around an hour to spin 4 grams. So if we're being very specific, which you know I weigh everything,
Yes.
and I figure, especially when I'm on a deadline. Like if I wasn't on a deadline, I'd just be enjoying the spinning part. But this has to be. I have around half done. I'm actually around an hour from having half done on the 3rd bobbin, and then I have tomorrow, and then it needs to be plied and washed. So the twist is set on Tuesday, and then I'll hang it out to dry outside because it's like 95 degrees out here, and it'll dry super fast. And then I'll submit it to House Cup. So this yarn has a lot of really cool, like that teal, and then there's shades of purple, there's grays, and there's blacks. And what kills me is spinning the black.
Yeah.
Because it'll be in like big batches. And that's just boring to me. I like more colors. How I split this one is I just took the whole strip and divided it, just pulled it into thirds, and just am spinning off the thirds. So that is how that has been done. We'll see how it comes out as a sock yarn. I'm really excited. It's a superwash merino, if I hadn't said that already. And merino for me tends to spin pretty thin. And last week I guess I had a pretty thin yarn as well, because I had that lace weight on 800 yards, 878 yards. So I don't know, but the what I'm spinning after this is I have 8 ounces of Crivens, which is another mega sale colorway, and that's Falkland. So that'll poof up a little bit more. And what I put is that I just wanted like 800 yards from the 8 ounces. So that'll be a quicker spin. 400 yards at 4 ounces is kind of my default for a 2 ply. And then I have a loop bump that I'm doing as a single and then fulling. And I said around 800 yards. I think 700 yards after I full is what I put for that. So I'm doing 4, 3, 2, 1. I could have coarse spun or done a Navajo ply as well. Some people Navajo plied the death where it was like long stretches of and it's striped, and that was really pretty as well. That's another way that you can spin sock yarn. Mom asked me if I was going to spin two one direction and one the other because she likes spinning that way for sock yarn.
Isn't that what
'Cause
you're doing for the 3-ply?
no, I'm doing three all the same
Oh,
direction.
okay.
Um, so for that, you get a little bit more strength when you do that, I guess. So, but I haven't experimented with that, and I didn't want to experiment on my owl because that seemed like a terrible idea. So I already experimented with the 4-ply. So that is it for me from spinning. We have a question from Cordelia H. Knits, which is, she said, I would like to add on to this. I've heard Leslie mention friends of hers that are master insert crafts. How does one become a master insert craft? There are 3 programs that I know of. Do you know of more than knitting, spinning, and weaving?
Mm-mm.
Okay. The knitting program Leslie's actually doing, so I'll let her talk about that.
That is
Throwing
so
people
cute.
balls.
No, I purchased the
So the Knitting Guild of America.
yes, which is tkga.com, the knitting guild of america.com. I don't know if this applies to other countries. I have no idea. I just know that this one is American. Um, Basically, you pay a fee, and it varies based on what level of master knitter you're trying to accomplish.
And what year you purchased it in, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it's good forever. So I purchased it, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago. The Master Knitter course, which basically it's
And you purchase course 1, and you have to work your way through.
right,
So you
and
can't purchase course 2 until you've purchased finished and got approved for course
right,
1.
and the course 1 involves knitting a lot of samples to show that you understand left leaning increases and decreases and right leaning and how to make buttonholes and how to do all of these different edgings and ribbings and all that sort of thing. So
I feel
basically,
like you also have to write like a paper, correct? On something. Is there a paper in level 1 or is it in a later one?
I think that's in a later one.
Okay.
You have to knit a finished object in level 1 as well, and that's like a hat, I think. It's been a long time since I've even looked at it, honestly. So uh, you knit all these samples, you send them off to the organization, they critique you, and if anything doesn't meet their approval, they send it back and you have to redo it. And they give you, critiques that say,
Yeah.
for this you might want to try doing this particular increase or decrease so that they're less visible or whatever. They give you feedback, and then you keep going until you meet their standards, and then you are awarded this master knitter title. And I think there's 3 for knitter, so you can go all the way up to level 3, at which point I think you have to design a colorwork sweater pattern.
And to get the master certification, you have to go through all the levels.
Right. I don't know much about the master spinner or
I
weaver.
do because I was researching it earlier this week because Olds College does the master spinner and weavers program. It's basically like college credit. They give you credited hours for it. It is through college, Olds College. They do it primarily, I think it's in Canada, but there are branch out classes where they so master knitter is kind of on your own.
Right.
You do it on your own. The master spinner and weaver, you go and take college credit basically. And there's some places like I know one of the places outside of Kansas City is offering one. So there's different places to take classes at. It's just like the master knitter in that you have to complete level 1 before you can move on to level 2. Price wise, it's around, because it's college credit and you're getting one-on-one instruction, it's around $900 for the master spinner. Because it's based on the Canadian dollar, that fluctuates a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Here in the US. It's a lot of spinning samples. They do not allow e-spinners unless you have a physical disability where you cannot use a regular wheel. because stuff like twist angle and twist per inch and stuff like that, they want you to show proficiency on a standard wheel. But you can get an excusal if physically you are not capable of using a non-e spinner. I'm trying to think what else. The weaving I really don't know much about. I've linked in the show notes every single thing, so you can get information there. I totally messed up on my thing, or I dropped a stitch somewhere. That's no good. Anyway, I'm gonna put that down. So that is, I'm trying to think of anything else to say about the master spinner, master knitter, or master weaver. And it's hand knitter. There might be a machine knitter because it specifies hand knitter. But they're all interesting programs, and it's interesting to, if you have someone in your area that has achieved that distinction, you might, because we have 2 master spinners and at least 1 master weaver in our area.
Yeah.
You might want to talk to them. There is a podcast called Mastering the Knits, which is a wonderful podcast, and they are going through the master hand knitter program. And so they do a lot of discussion on that. So that might, I need to link that as well. I will put it in the show notes and maybe remember to link it.
I need to go back to it, but I have no desire anymore. When I originally purchased the course, I thought, man, I'll get to say I'm a master knitter, and now it's like, I just don't care.
And the TKG does publish a magazine yearly too that does have helpful information on for the Master Knitter program. Another thing that you might need for the Master Knitter program is the book that we're reviewing, if that is your thing. So to segue into our book review, we have Increase, Decrease, 99 Step-by-Step Methods by Judith Durant. If Judith's name sounds familiar, she is one of the editors of the One Skein Wonders series, which is very, extremely proficient. If the appearance of this book looks familiar, it is published by Story Publishing, who also did Cast On, Bind Off by Leslie Ann Bester. This book retails for $16.95 in the U.S. I just looked on Amazon. There is an e-version available. At least in the US. So there's a Kindle version if you are more of a Kindle person and want something to take with you everywhere you go on your iPad or phone. That might be a better option. And that was $10. And then they had the spiral bound, because this is spiral bound.
So
and I love
flat.
spiral bound.
Yeah.
So that would be a great positive about it, is it does sit very flat. They have that as well. I think it was $12 today. But, you know, Amazon changes daily, so
yeah.
Can't really go by that.
So, initial sort of observations is it is going to give you images of what every common increase or decrease looks like.
So there's swatches, and they're nice and light colored, so you can really see this is the yarn over.
And every swatch is knit out of the same base yarn. It's Shell Ridge Soft something. Shell Ridge Farm Soft Touch DK. So every single swatch is knit out of the same type of yarn, so you can see what different increases and decreases look like in the same yarn, which is helpful. This isn't a book that you're gonna, it's not something you're gonna sit and read cover to cover like a novel, but it is a very beefy resource.
It's a reference
book, yes.
So people who might be interested in this book are people who are just learning to knit, people who tend to stumble across terms that they don't recognize and patterns that might not have a good explanation in the pattern notes. For example, I just was reading a pattern and she called for a center double decrease. It was actually, there was no like abbreviations, it was just CDD, and it took me like 5 minutes of staring at it to figure out what CDD stood for.
Yeah.
And that's center double decrease. And then here there's multiple ways of doing center double decreases, so it might be helpful in those hands. If you're a designer, obviously very helpful.
If you like to modify patterns because you need bust darts or you need like Amy Beth butt darts, whatever, being able to see how your modifications might look versus what the pattern calls for is very helpful. And we're not going to go through and show you every single increase and every single decrease, but I do like that she shows you what it looks like on the right side and the wrong side,
Uh-huh.
which is helpful if you're looking to make something reversible or what have you.
So it starts with neutral increases. Neutral increases don't really slant either
Right.
direction. So there's open ones like yarn overs and closed ones like backwards loop. There's more than that. I'm just giving
Right.
general examples that most people will know. Everything is laid out picture-wise, step by step. The pictures do have the knitter
Continental.
continentally working all the stitches. So if you are a thrower and seeing things continental really just blows your mind, this might not be a great resource for you. Let's see what else. After closed neutral increases, there are paired increases.
Yes.
So left and right slanting.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple increases into a single stitch.
And another thing that she does that I think is a great addition is she tells you when you might use that particular increase or decrease, what it would be good for. In this particular instance, she says if you're to keep the purlwise stitches in a pattern in order to not have to do a yarn over at the beginning of a row. She gives you good reasons and types of patterns in some instances where this looks really nice if you're trying to do decreases at the top of a tam or at the edge of a shoulder. She gives you that information.
So all the increases are on yellow paper, which I like because you can just look at it and see all the decreases are on blue.
Yep.
I will say for the SSK, I was a little disappointed. So a lot of times in this book, there is one way of doing things, and if you've been knitting a while, you know that there are always variations. So for the SSK, it has you slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, knit two together. My favorite way of doing SSK now is slip as if to knit, slip as if to purl, which twists that second stitch and makes it look more like a knit two together.
It lays flatter, yeah.
It does. So everything has at least one version, but there's not a lot of and that would be like a very little note to add, like, by the way, some people, like Elizabeth Zimmerman, does it this way, and here's why. So they could have added a couple notes in here, I feel like, on some of the things.
I do
for
like
variation.
that she talks about using increases and decreases as decorative effects.
Yes.
So, for as an example, these are decreases that are used to form a decorative effect that looks almost like a cable.
The last part I find really, really interesting.
I agree.
That is increases and decreases. It's actually, I think, decreases mostly.
Special circumstances, yeah.
Yeah. In textured patterns, in lace, in cables, in color work, and circular decreases. So ways to incorporate decreases or increases that make it part of a pattern. So if you're into designing, this would be an exceptionally helpful section.
I think the ruching is a nice detail as well. It shows you the difference between 2-to-1 ratios and 3-to-1 ratios in ruching. You wouldn't think it would make such a big difference, but it does. And she explains how to accomplish that.
There's a nice index in the back that gives you exactly where to find everything on what page, so you don't have to be flipping through. There's a common symbols guide, which is also very helpful if you're looking at a chart and you're like, and it doesn't have
and be wary, not every single designer uses the standard symbols, but for the most part, they'll look, similar to what you'll see in the book.
So overall, a really good reference if you're doing something like Master Knitters, a definitely must buy. If you're doing designing, something very useful to have on your shelf. Or if you're just really interested in different methods of increasing and decreasing.
Yeah, I think this is really helpful for the people who want to know the why.
And a very inexpensive reference that you can throw or get the Kindle edition and just throw in your bag.
It would fit in a project bag too. It's a small book, and I do like the spiral binding touch as well. So.
I always like spiral binding on things. So no patterns, all reference, a great little technique book to throw in your bag and take with you when you're doing stuff. Um, Speaking of books, what are you listening to or reading, my dear?
I am still listening to Judas Unchained, which is the second by Peter something Hamilton. The first was Pandora's Star. And it's a very long sort of space opera sci-fi book. And then I just started The Fifth Wave, which is a post-apocalyptic science fiction-y book. I'm only about a third of the way through it, and I'm not really sure still what's happening. So,
Those are always fun.
yeah. Apparently, it's being turned into a movie. So, even though it just came out in February, so I'm not really sure how that happened already. But
They might have just sold the rights. A
yeah,
lot of people sell their book rights just in like people buy book rights just
yeah.
in case, and you get all excited because you're like, man, that's a good book. I want to see it as a movie, and then it takes 20 years. Like Princess Bride, the rights were sold 3 or 4 times before it was actually made into a movie. Just
So
FYI.
yeah, that's it. That's all I've been really reading and listening to this week.
So I was very inspired. So Susan B. Anderson put some of her patterns that were only available in kits up on her site. And one of those is the half pint mitten. She did a kit for Little Skein in the Big Wool. That was Laura Ingalls Wilder. And Laura Ingalls Wilder's autobiography came out this past year, which has been on my list of things to get, but my local library doesn't have it. So I'll have to buy it myself, and it's $30. But it's worth it because I like Little House on the Prairie. I like the books themselves. So I am rereading Little House on the Prairie. This is my original copy from when I was
A
growing up.
dollar 95.
Yep, $1.95. Can't buy a book for $1.95 anymore. And Harper and Row Publishers, which I don't even know that they're still in existence. Little House in the Big Woods is the first one, then Little House on the Prairie. I want to book talk these this fall, which is not really my demographic, but I have another newer book that came out called Maybe, which is similar era slash setting, similar setting, and it is in verse. So I want to do a paired book talk of the two of them. So I'm rereading it for that. Plus, I want to read the autobiography. So I'm actually doing kind of schoolwork,
Sort of.
which I've been kind of avoiding this summer. So I need to get back on my YA reading bandwagon and really getting into that. I can start. We can't order books from like May 15th till July like 10th is when the new budget comes in. So right before SSK, I'm gonna order like $3,000 worth of new books for my library. So I want to start really looking at what I want to get for the library, which is going to be a lot of minority stuff, but I'm thinking of what I can do paired. Like, I already have that book. So, some things that are kind of neglected on the shelves that I want to refocus on. So, for book talks this fall. Um, that is all I'm reading because, again, I'm being super lazy. Um, Favorite things. I've been watching a lot of documentaries on Netflix, and someone asked some of the documentaries that I've been watching. I've been watching Clean Spirit, which I watched. It's a Tour de Fleece documentary. What's the other one? Facing the Badger, which was really, really interesting. It's about the first American to win the Tour de France. Um, so that was really, really interesting because there was a lot. It gets into like the politics of the tour a lot, and also doping kind of came in Lance Armstrong era at the end of that and going into that. I watched Paris is Burning, which is a documentary about drag balls in New York City in the 1980s,
Oh,
which was really interesting. Actually, if you are a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, it goes into a little bit of the houses. That so like the drag parents who form the
oh yeah, yeah.
houses.
The drag mothers and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes a little bit into that and the history of drag a little bit, which was interesting, at least in the 80s. So drag in the 80s, which was interesting. So what else have I been watching? I told you guys last week, Chasing Mr. Watterson, which is about the creator of, well, mainly about the impact that Calvin and Hobbes has had on the comic industry.
You've been
Um,
watching some very educational stuff. And
oh,
all I watch is like The Blacklist and Orange is the New Black and all these terrible comedy dramas. And you're watching all these.
and then I was, oh, what is it that I got really into? There is a detective series that's like Victorian, Canada. Oh, what is it called? And that's really interesting because I had no idea that, so I guess when power first came into homes, it was all direct current, and then alternating currents
Mm-hmm.
became popular, and there was a fight between like the electric companies, and because it's a lot of money, and
Yeah.
Niagara Falls was becoming alternating current. They were building the dam and stuff. That's gonna drive me crazy that I can't. So sometimes I watch like mysteries that actually have. I had to go research alternating and direct current and why that was such a big deal. Oh, I'll think of it. It's on Netflix. And then I have a couple other, like I love Comic Book Men. I'll rewatch that with Kevin Smith a million times. And that goes into more of the history of comics and the toy industry. It's more of a podcast type format. But yeah, I've been watching. It's so funny because my brother was like, "What are you watching on Netflix?" And he's been watching Daredevil, which he just loves. And he was trying to get me to watch Daredevil. We have very different taste
I watched Daredevil. It was okay.
in things. He likes comic book stuff, and which is awesome. And I like documentaries about comic book stuff. I actually also watched the Brony documentary a while back,
Wow,
and I
there's a
also really
Brony
like.
documentary.
Yes, it's like okay. So I like a lot of subculture documentaries. I think because I like the Trekkie ones are really interesting to me.
It depends. Sometimes they can be a little too. Sometimes they fail to like back up and look at it from an outsider's perspective,
Yeah.
and it's too cerebral. I don't. That's not the right word. Too. You're in too deep. Like you have to back up sometimes.
Okay. And then there's a documentary about Comic Con, which is in California, which
Mm-hmm.
is really good. And then what other ones have I watched? Anyway, I've been watching a lot of subculture documentaries. The Brony one though is really, really interesting. If you're into My Little Pony at all,
Well, don't
or you like
confuse.
subculture.
This isn't like something probably you want to sit with your 7-year-old daughter and watch.
No, no, no. Although it's that one's pretty PG. Paris is Burning. No, that is that is definitely adults. Just from the language alone, that is adults. Um, but a lot of interesting things. I
Now
like
that you know more about us than you probably want to know, um, we can talk about other favorite things. Stash Dash still going on.
Yeah, Stash Dash is going strong. I am around 4,000 meters, 4,000 meters because it's done in meters. So that is awesome.
I'm not.
If you finish all your whips, you
This
will be.
skein is the only yardage I really can count right now because I haven't finished anything. So,
That's
and
kind of sad. You haven't finished anything since the middle of May?
no, I haven't.
Oh, that's sad for you.
Apparently, I've just been casting things on.
Apparently. 13 things.
Uh huh.
I think it's 15.
I
I
really
really-
don't think it's 15. Anyway,
I talked about my crazy cast on itis.
we also talked a little bit last week about the at SSK. So SSK is our annual knitting retreat that we hold in
Yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee. It's in July. I wish that we could talk about it and then you could go and sign up, but unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, we are lucky enough that it's in high enough demand that we just don't have the ability to have sort of an open sign up. You can come. It has to be done lottery style. So all spots for this year are currently taken, but
Sign-ups will be for next year
in September or first part
so
of
we'll
October.
be talking about that a good bit when those come.
Not for at least a month after SSK. But
No. Leslie puts a ban on all SSK discussion for a month.
yeah.
So
But we do have something called a try it on room, and
Yeah.
so that involves people bringing their knitted items in and sharing and we tag everything with information about the object, and then we sort garments by size, and you go in there and you can try things on and see what works for you, or see something in person that you've never seen in person. And it's a great way to sort of broaden your horizons about what sort of garments or accessories you want to create. So we are...
Or not create.
Or not, yeah. Maybe you'll try something on and think, wow, that shape just doesn't work for me.
Yep.
You know, it happens.
Or that tubularity looks dreadful.
So this year...
Or that new femme only goes this far down my boobs. This is a good idea to get modifications, too.
Yes. We are going to incentivize people to bring in items for the Try It On room. If you bring in an accessory, you get 3 door prize tickets. If you bring in a garment, you get 5 door prize tickets. So the sooner that you bring them in, the better, because we have 2 drawings, one on opening night and one on closing Saturday night. And we will check in those items at any point in time. If you want to pre-tag the items, we're
going to create a blog.
Yes.
That'll have a downloadable tag on it. That's on my list of things to do tomorrow.
Yes.
It has been since Friday when Leslie asked me to do it.
We hadn't talked about it until today, so it's fine.
We do for... Okay, I'm going to interrupt for a second because I just got an awesome idea.
Okay.
Discuss it later. But... there are some people who are bringing some wheels that we don't already own.
Mm-hmm.
If they bring it and are willing to let people try it in the Try It On room, which is separate from the tasting room, can we give them tickets as well?
Tasting room, which is separate from the Try It On room. Yes. Then yes, okay. We can give people tickets
so
for
if
that.
You have a big or a larger piece of equipment that...
I know a couple people are bringing different types of wheels that we don't
own.
know.
That you would be willing to allow other people to try. And it can be wheels that we have in there as well, and that gives a second one, so that moves the line through a little bit faster. Then can we do 5 or 10 tickets for that? You want to do 5 or 10?
Let's do 10 for big items like that, because you're taking a risk, right, by putting it in the room.
Yeah. I mean, you can stand there by it.
Yeah.
And supervise. And I'll be there with the wheels, because I'm always there with the wheels supervising.
Yeah. Weird things happen when other people play with wheels. Usually it's nothing. Usually it's like, you just have to put the tension band on, or, little things, but you never know. So, and I don't say that to scare people. I'm just being real. Like,
I'll have my wheel repair kit with me, too, which consists of a flashlight, tweezers with a flashlight, and a dental pick.
Well, all right then.
And a screwdriver. So that's all you need. Maybe pliers. Pliers are good too.
Yeah, so Laura will put up a blog with all this information, so you don't have to remember it. But we will ask, if you can pre-tag your garments, do that, because it saves time. You can get your tickets quicker that way. If you just can't make that work, it's fine. We'll tag it for you. It'll just take a little bit longer. Door prizes. Do you have some door prizes you wanted to show?
Oh, yes. I have 20 door prizes to show. Are you ready?
God.
Are you ready?
It's wonderful. I'm thrilled, but I'm looking at the time going, well, it's going to be who it's going to be.
All right. So it'll go pretty fast. So the first is a gorgeous bat from Joanna Spring, who's Knit Spring Farm. Look at how pretty.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, she's doing a bat update tomorrow. So if you are interested in her bats, they go pretty fast in her Etsy shop. So that is Knit Spin Farm. She's got a wonderful podcast, and you should definitely check her out. And this one is 3 ounces of alpaca, Angelina, Blueface Leicester, Corriedale, Falkland, and Sari Silk. It's really, really pretty.
Yeah, it is.
So that's the first thing.
Thank you, Joanna.
The second thing is we have 2 3-month memberships to eduknit.com if you are looking for a good resource on different things. And they also have a needle sizer in there.
Cool. So that's nice from the ladies at EduKnit.
Yes. We have from Millamia a baby blanket kit.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
That and all the yarn to make it.
We just bought some of that yarn. That's what I brought to you at Lynn's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this is it's made in Sweden, and this is naturally soft merino.
Yeah, it's a woolen spun.
This one is not.
Oh, okay.
This is This is different.
It's a different
They
mix.
have different brands.
Okay.
Yeah. This is their 100% virgin wool soft merino.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, which is a gorgeous kit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's almost like a log cabin when you look at it. Super cute.
Yeah.
All right, so there is that. The wonderful women at Simply Sock Company sent us 3 skeins of their self-striping post yarn. The first is Jollyville, which I bought last year. It is a Christmas self-striper. Love it.
It makes me think of the Grinch and the
Yes.
Whoville.
Yes, it's perfect. This one, which I have not gotten yet, but I might in the future, is Skagit Valley Fest.
I don't get the reference, but I like it.
It's pretty. It's lots of brights. And then this one is Bourbon Street, New Orleans. Do you see it? You know who should win this one is Nola Pam.
Pam from NOLA, yeah.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Previously known as Sheep Therapy.
The post yarn is actually a 75% superwash cordial, 25% nylon, 393 yards. So if you are looking for breed-specific sock yarn, this is definitely one that you should check out.
I'm actually wearing socks made out of that.
Really?
Yes.
Madeline Tosh sent us 2 skeins of their Cove colorway in vintage.
Ooh, that's pretty.
I know. I'm trying to decide if we should give them separately or together.
Oh, together for sure.
Okay. Java Jenny, who is Kitchen Counter Crafter,
Yeah.
sent one of her bags. This is, I think, the double shot. Yep, the double shot. It's got these cute sheep.
Yeah.
And her bags have this.
Oh, the tape measure closure.
Yeah, so they will actually sit. If I can get it. When they have stuff in them, they'll sit.
Right. That's great.
It's wonderful, and it's got a little handle as well. And she'll be attending SSK.
Yeah.
She also sent business cards. HD Yarns sent some self-striping.
Ooh, that's crazy bright.
Love it.
I like that packaging too.
Yes, I had to leave it in the packaging, even though it's super annoying to try to store.
Poor put out Laura.
Invictus Yarns sent their Beyond Bliss, which is a superwash merino nylon cashmere blend.
Pretty.
It's really, really
yeah, that's a nice pale
subtle, semi-solid. I'm trying to get it without crinkling too much. I don't see a colorway name, but it's really, really pretty, and that's Invictus Yarns.
Yeah.
Check her out. Juliana'sFiber.com sent 2 skeins. One is going to be for viewers of the podcast, and one is for SSK.
Ooh, I like that pop of color in there.
Silver linings. Yeah, it's got like a rainbow.
That is really pretty.
She's also, if you follow her on Instagram, she's doing some really cool subtle gradients that she's starting to dye.
And who is this again? Juliana's Fiber?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to check her out.
The bad thing about getting prizes for SSK is I keep buying from people who send us stuff. I need to send out reminder emails, though, because I haven't done that yet. Jerry Brock Woodworks sent us a hedgehog spindle.
Oh, that's great.
She does amazing Turkish spindles, and she's also got directions on the back. This is a maple hedgehog. It is 0.78 ounces, and her stuff spins like a dream.
Yeah.
I actually have, in my very cool spindle bag, I have one of her hedgehogs. You can barely see it because
it's full of fiber.
Full of fiber, but it spins so lovely. I might take this with me to SSK to work on. So that's that. And Jerry Brock's on Art Fire. She does wonderful things. We got 2 wonderful prizes from A Good Yarn, which is in Sarasota.
Sarasota, yeah.
They have a bunch of colorways that they get made specifically for them. This is Midnight Pass from Madeline Tosh.
It's so pretty.
In the sport. It's gorgeous. Like, this is a blue that is to die for. And she also included, like, how they came up with the colorway.
Oh, that's great.
Free of the thing.
And then they brought us one last year that was a red sparkly Zen garden that was specialty for them.
And then this is Burke.
No,
Burke.
Bink waffle.
Pink waffle bag. There you go.
Yeah.
Can't read. And this is specifically made for them as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's got you
And
pull
it's
the
got this
handle through
plastic,
the
yeah, and you can
yeah.
pull it through. I've not had one of these bags, but they are super cool.
Yeah, Shannon, Minerva Turkey likes them a lot. I don't have any, but I like the bag.
And the inside seashore fabric.
Oh.
Florida. So that's very cool. We have a skein of String Theory.
Oh, yes.
It's like a blue that's subtly variegated. It's the beach plum colorway, really, really pretty. And she has like a one of a kind colorway that she's doing right now that is gorgeous, and that is String Theory yarns.
Yes, she does some beautiful solid colors.
Absolutely stunning, but she's got a gorgeous variegated that she just put up. That's amazing. The Fix-A-Stitch people sent us several, and these will be together. They have the lace and then the regular hooks, so we have 2 packs of those to give away.
I just used mine for my Fix-A-Stitch yesterday on the trick sweater when I dropped a stitch.
Oh, they're so perfect for, and like if you have to fix a cable and recross down, perfect for that. Alright, I'm going to, I haven't opened a lot of these out of the plastic yet. So, Mom saw this, and this is from Bird Leg Bags, and then she went and bought 3 yards of the fabric.
Oh yeah, I've seen that fabric everywhere. It's really popular right now.
Love it. This is a small box bag. It's Viewmasters, which is our favorite things to do as a child. It's like Playthings, I think, is the line of the fabric, and they have like word searches and jacks.
I want to say it's Cotton and Steel is the maker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bird Leg Bags does amazing stuff, and this is covered because every single one of her bags has a cute little stitch marker, and you can find her at birdlegbags.com. Simply Sock Company, I think, also carries her stuff, but you can probably find the best selection. And then this is the best bag. Look, it's surfboarding kitty.
Oh my god!
It makes me
I need that.
So insanely happy, and it's huge.
Okay, I don't want a huge bag out of it, but I really want a bag out of that now.
And the inside's kind of like a cat print too, but it's a nice deep.
Oh, that is so awesome. There are no words.
Doesn't that make you happy?
Surfboarding cats, man. That is awesome.
It makes me so happy, and it's got a little cat stitch marker that goes with it as well. So that's Bird Leg Bags, Vicky and Danny. Amazing.
That is great. Thank you.
So much fun. All right, and then the last thing, Jimmy Bean's Wool sent this giant gift basket.
That is amazing.
So it's this huge thing, and it's got a bunch of Rowan in it. It's got hand therapy stuff. It's got bags.
Laura's going to leave it wrapped so it's all pretty for whoever wants it.
Yes. Like a shawl pattern, it looks like. Like, I'm not going to dig through it, but it's got amazing stuff in it. And Web sent us stuff, too, that I'll show you next week. But, just amazing door prizes. So I'm super happy with
we have some great
how generous people have been. Is amazing. So,
I can't stop thinking about the cat on the surfboard. It makes me happy.
You have to find that fabric now.
I'm going to have to get her to make me a bag. That's great.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Bird Leg Bags, like I have a little hedgehog, I have several of her bags, and Vicky does great work. So, that's about it. That's it for me.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I'm going on call next week.
Oh, fun.
So, but I do get an extra day off work because it's the 4th on Saturday, and technically we're supposed to get the day off because now that I'm at corporate, which is I'm still not used to getting holidays off because I didn't.
Are you getting Friday off?
For years and years. Yes, I have Friday off, but I'm still on call, so if something happens, I still have to work. But still, I theoretically I should have more time to craft this week. We'll see.
Oh.
Probably I'll just find 3 more things that I forgot I had on the needles and then start getting itchy. So,
you should do like things that you want to get off the needles, like as in take off the needles.
I should just finish some things. That's what I would like.
Well, you
to
can finish things, but things that you want to rip out is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, I have a few things that I have to, like a couple different pairs of socks that just aren't working. So.
Yeah.
We're already at like an hour and 15 minutes, so
Okay.
I think we're good for this week. We will see you guys again on the 5th of July. And until then,
Yeah. And
have a
we'll
good,
be in July. Oh my goodness.
which is SSK time, yeah. So
All
we'll
right.
see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.